1987. While the world slept, the Persian Gulf refused to. Beneath its dark waters, one of the most dangerous conflicts of the Cold War was already unfolding. No television cameras captured it. No reporters stood nearby. No headlines warned the world. Nothing extraordinary was happening. But somewhere beyond the horizon, American helicopters were already lifting into the night. Their lights were dark. Their radios were quiet. Their destination, known only to the few who had been trusted with the mission. Every crew member understood the risk. One unexpected encounter could ignite an international crisis before sunrise. This wasn't the kind of war history usually remembers. There were no massive invasions, no famous battlefield victories, no cheering crowds waiting for heroes to return home. Instead, it was a war fought with patience, a war fought with discipline, a war fought in complete silence. Every night, the helicopters disappeared into the darkness. Every morning, they returned with the same unanswered question: who was turning one of the world's most important waterways into a battlefield? The operation remained hidden from the public. Its missions were classified. Its successes were never announced. Yet decades later, military historians would recognize it as one of the defining covert maritime operations of the late Cold War. Its mission was simple to describe, but incredibly difficult to accomplish: protect international shipping, find an enemy hiding in the darkness, and stop the crisis before it grew into something far worse. Transition before operation. Prime chance began. The Persian Gulf had already become one of the most dangerous places on Earth. In September 1980, war erupted between Iran and Iraq, one of the longest, most destructive conflicts of the 20th century. The fighting soon spread into the Gulf, where oil tankers and merchant ships carried the energy that powered economies around the world. Missiles struck commercial vessels. Naval mines appeared beneath busy shipping lanes. Small attack boats emerged without warning, then vanished back into the darkness. Insurance costs soared. Global markets grew nervous. Washington watched carefully. Doing nothing was no longer an option, but a full-scale campaign risked pulling other nations into the conflict. The United States needed a mission that could protect international shipping without triggering a wider war. Inside the Pentagon, planners began designing an operation unlike any they had attempted before. One built on intelligence, patience, and the cover of darkness. Designing the operation was the easy part. Finding an enemy that refused to be seen would prove far more difficult. The enemy didn't operate from bases or front lines. They appeared without warning, struck, then disappeared into the darkness, too fast for aircraft carriers or destroyers to follow. So instead of expanding bases on land, American planners turned to the sea itself. Civilian barges were transformed into floating operational platforms. Helicopters were fueled and armed. No unnecessary radio calls. Darkness had become America's greatest advantage. Using advanced night vision technology, crews could detect movements once invisible. But technology alone couldn't guarantee success. Patience was just as important. Victory wouldn't be measured by targets destroyed, but by finding the right target at the right time. Weeks of searching had produced nothing. One radar contact changed everything. Night after night, the crews searched the Gulf and returned before dawn, again and again, with only the endless black horizon for an answer. Someone was laying naval mines in the world's busiest shipping lanes. The challenge wasn't understanding the threat. It was catching the attackers before they disappeared. A radar operator detected a vessel moving strangely through the Gulf. Instead of moving in, the helicopter crews stayed back, watching, recording, waiting. They had learned that assumptions could destroy months of work. Then the night vision cameras captured something unexpected. Crew members gathering along the deck, lifting heavy objects over the side. The evidence was unmistakable. Months of surveillance had finally paid off, but observing the operation was only half the battle. Now, a far more dangerous decision had to be made. It was time to move in. For a few moments, nobody moved. Every eye stayed fixed on the vessel below. There was no longer any doubt. The crew had witnessed mines being lowered into the water. Commanders weighed every option. Allow the vessel to leave, and the evidence could vanish forever. The helicopters descended from the darkness. For the first time that night, their presence was no longer hidden. Warnings were issued. The vessel was ordered to stop. For a brief moment, there was only silence. According to US military accounts, the vessel failed to comply with repeated warnings, and American helicopters opened fire to disable it. Within seconds, the covert operation became an armed confrontation. The crew scattered across the deck, searching desperately for cover as the vessel slowed, then finally stopped. As daylight approached, American forces boarded the ship. Its identity was confirmed: Iran Ajar. The search revealed exactly what the mission had been looking for: naval mines, military equipment, and evidence of an active mine-laying operation. After months of uncertainty, Operation Prime Chance had finally caught its target in the act. But commanders knew one interception would not end the conflict. Capturing Iran Ajar was a major victory, but its greatest impact would only become clear in the days that followed. For the first time, the United States had more than intelligence reports. It had physical evidence: the mines, the equipment, and information that helped analysts finally understand how the attacks had been carried out. The Gulf remained one of the world's most dangerous waterways, and every sunset still brought another night of uncertainty. Yet the operation had already proven something important. Modern warfare wasn't decided by firepower alone. Years later, the true legacy of Operation Prime Chance was only beginning to emerge. When the final patrols ended, the operation quietly disappeared from public view. No victory parades, no breaking news, no recognition for the men who carried it out. Yet, within military circles, it became an important case study, proof that success no longer depended only on larger fleets or greater firepower. Today, Operation Prime Chance remains one of the least known operations of the Cold War, not because it failed, but because it accomplished its mission without ever seeking attention. The helicopters had landed. The mission was complete. Why is Operation Prime Chance still almost unknown today? When the final helicopter returned home, Operation Prime Chance quietly came to an end. No celebrations marked its success. No crowds welcomed the cruise. No headlines revealed what had taken place beneath the waters of the Persian Gulf. The mission simply faded into history. For decades, many of the people who made it possible never spoke publicly about what they had done. Yet the operation left a lasting legacy. It demonstrated that intelligence, preparation, and disciplined decision-making could prevent a crisis before it became a catastrophe. Operation Prime Chance was never the largest military operation of the Cold War. It was never the most famous, but it proved that some of history's most important missions are carried out far from the cameras and far from public recognition. Perhaps that is why so few people know its name today. Not because it failed, but because it succeeded exactly as it was intended to, quietly, professionally, and without demanding recognition. Sometimes, the greatest victories are not measured by the battles that were fought, but by the wars that never happened. Operation Prime Chance stands as a reminder that history is often shaped by people whose names are rarely remembered, and by missions the world almost never sees. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy documentaries that uncover hidden military operations, forgotten history, and the untold stories behind world events, subscribe to BizNova. because history still holds countless secrets, and we're just getting started.